But before I call on her, I'd just like to read a brief profile about her. Mrs. Babatunde is the founder and Chief Operating Officer at Rivetal, which powers the blog parentinvestment.com. Rivetal is a social enterprise that partners with parents, schools, governments, and other stakeholders to equip the younger generation for the future. Ray is the pioneer DQ ambassador in Nigeria, first in Africa. I think that deserves a round of applause. And a member of the DQ coalition comprising of the DQ Institute, the World Economic Forum, Varkey Foundation, Google, Singtel, LG, U+, and leading NGOs, educators, and researchers worldwide. She will be speaking now. Her name is Mrs. Charity Babatunde. Ladies and gentlemen, please can we welcome Mrs. Charity Babatunde.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I allow me to stand on all existing protocol, and also to say that it is an absolute pleasure and honor to be here. I'm not a very, very formal person, so please allow me. Let me issue a few disclaimers that I crave your indulgence to be myself and to speak the truth as I know it and to be comfortable. So I'm not sure if I can actually be confined to this space. And it would be nice if the other mic was available so that I can, feel free and walk around. And while we wait for those who are coming in from the other breakout session, I must say that I sat in on one of them and it was an absolute eye-opener. The first session, incidentally, was incredible. Incredible. I learned so much. Can we please give the first speaker a round? It was incredible. The breakout session I sat on again was another major eye-opener, and I left at the stage where the gentleman was talking about drug and substance abuse, which is an area that I'm interested in. Can we just give maybe like 2 minutes? I can see people are coming in so that everybody is settled. So in the meantime, can be gisting. Then we'll get to it. So let me say, I'm not a doctor. And I remember when I sent out the flyer to one of the, to a group of friends. And it was then it occurred to me that everybody had doctor in front of their name. So the person asked me, where is your own doctor? I said, I'm not yet a doctor. And I'm not going to pretend to be one. I'm not going to stand here to pretend to be one. So I'm not going to make any medical claims or physiological claims. But I'm going to be talking from the standpoint of somebody who is a mother. And the way I like to describe myself is also somebody who is a parenting enthusiast. I'm very interested in parenting, and I absolutely, yeah, fantastic. I absolutely love the younger generation. I think in my mind, I kind of froze at a particular age. And somehow, I just haven't really... Sometimes my daughter, who's 25 now, will ask me that, are you sure you lived your life as a young person? And I ask myself sometimes, because I think I was a bit too fast, but that's part of the gist that I'll be giving as we talk. And so I absolutely love working with young people, especially teenagers. Some of my friends, because of what I do, say, okay, can they bring their 4-year-old? I'm not very good with the ones that they cannot tell me exactly what they want. The ones that can talk and we can have conversations, much better. So, today I'm going to be talking, or I've been asked to talk about STEM the Tide. And the sub-theme is changing societal norms, pair relations, and parenting in the digital age. When I got the letter of invitation, which is an absolute honor to have received, a couple of things ran through my mind when I saw the topic. Because I wasn't sure which one to focus on. Changing societal norms is a topic on its own. Pair relations is a topic on its own. Parenting in the digital age, another major topic. So I decided to start from my comfort zone and hopefully we'll be able to talk on all of them. My comfort zone is actually parenting with digital age. And incidentally, today also happens to be the first World DQ Day. When my profile was being read out, it was said that I'm the DQ ambassador in Nigeria. DQ stands for Digital Intelligence Quotient. And what we do is we work with children and parents to ensure that our children are responsible digital citizens. So things like cyberbullying, things like digital empathy, things that actually can lead to the negative side of your mental wellness. We talk a lot about that. Lots of money through internet fraud can definitely lead to major mental health issues. So those are some of the things we talk about. So it was brilliant for me that it coincided today. I think we're about settled now. So let me give a bit of a story about myself, and which is related. I may not be focusing entirely on suicide. And interestingly, it was when I sat down at the breakout session that I thought, I've never contemplated suicide. But quite frankly, there was a time in my life that the thought of not existing anymore seemed attractive. I don't know how many of us, it's not, you don't want to kill yourself. It's not as if you're planning to kill yourself. But if it ends somehow, you won't mind. You understand? You won't mind. It occurred to me that happened to me, and interestingly, that was probably maybe about 3 years ago when I lost a huge sum of money through fraud. It was traumatizing, and it coincided when I was going for surgery. So I felt if it was in my power to wake up, I wasn't going to exercise that power. Let me just sleep and go. I don't think I would describe myself as suicidal, because quite frankly, I would not take my life. I'm not going to focus on that. But I will focus on how we can help our children through things that can lead them to getting to a point where they will contemplate ending their lives. And my story is interesting in the sense that I've always been a very fast child. I honestly cannot explain why. I got into secondary school at the age of 9, which then was a big deal. Forget my size, my bucket was bigger than me when I got into secondary school. I used to have people beg, can I help you carry your bucket? Are you sure you're okay? And I was very sharp in terms of, I'm not talking of intellectually, but talking and being very bold and confident. Then I got into secondary school, and I found out that life wasn't really what I thought it was. Things that you would say very innocently were taken out of context. Things that you didn't mean any harm about. People will come and it became an issue. And gradually that began to tell on my self-confidence, on my self-esteem and all that. Now, it also did not help. Like I said, I was a very fast child. That I'm the first of 3 children. My mother got married at the age of 21. Sorry, at the age of 20. And had me at the age of 21. Now that I'm double 21 plus about 10 years or more after, I understand that it wouldn't have been easy for her at all. Having a child, how do you cope? Then she had 3 girls. And raising 3 children was no joke at all. So clearly, she must have had some issues with what probably would be normal teenage development. But she didn't understand, so she did the best thing she felt she could do. She had a school mother who was a child psychologist, and she asked me to go and spend holidays with her. If I was living there now, then it would have occurred to me that this is grounds for claiming mental health issue. But since I wasn't, I just thought she was very mean. And I'm sure many of us living here or sitting here have thought that our mothers were mean. The kind of things they put us through. But the truth of the matter is that they had our very best interest at heart. Now, bring it forward to the age we're living in. Some of us sitting here, our children actually think we're mean. The only difference is that now they understand that there's something called mental health and mental wellness. And that thing that they are feeling can be depression, or it can be somewhere on that spectrum. And the reason why they are aware, for various reasons, one of which is the advantage of the digital world, which gives you access to all kinds of information. So you can Google a feeling and it tells you that is depression. Or you Google, I'm feeling as if my parents are putting under pressure, and they have a name for it. And so they're going there and they're finding out that a lot of things are happening. But then also the world has changed. And the way I like to put it is that the abnormal is fast becoming very normal. Things that ordinarily we would not have dreamt would ever happen are beginning to happen. We find out that a lot of things are grappling for the attention of our children. The commodity that is being traded is information. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So they go there and they get every and any kind of information they want. Why don't they come to the parents? Why don't they go to the schools? We'll come to that later. So, we're living in a digital world where there's a lot of social media. And it's interesting that social media has me right in the middle. So everything is pointed there. There's a lot of social media that is going on. There's a lot of digital addiction that's going on. There's a lot of family time is being disrupted. Even when you're together, everybody is on their device. So you're supposed to be having conversations, you're not having conversations. Everybody is doing their own thing. That's the world we're living in. So you can't even pick up things. When back in the day, your parents, or maybe your older siblings could pick up that it looks as if you're not happy. You are even too distracted to pick up to know whether there's something wrong. Or you just think, oh, what's wrong with this one? You're going to be tired. And like the last speaker said, Lagos alone is enough to stress anybody. So the last thing you want is to even add another person's stress to it, be it your child. So there's plenty that is going on. A lot of mood swing issues, a lot of academic pressure, a lot of bullying, cyberbullying, there are issues of gender identity, so many things that our children are having to go through. And then recently, the checks for grades. And it's incredible how far back this thing has been happening. It's incredible how there are different shades and different variations of it. Our children are getting dependent on drugs. Not because they are bad people, but because they just want to ease the pain and the discomfort that they feel. Something is just not sitting right with them. And the fact that there's anyone who knows anybody that is struggling with drugs or substance abuse, that child isn't a bad child. And I think that is one of the starting points that we need to get to. It's difficult in our culture because in our culture, the people who smoked weed were labeled as dropouts and people who were not thinking straight and they would never amount to anything. I am not soliciting that we encourage them to be smoking weed and all that. But what I'm saying is that unfortunately is not the case. What is happening now is they're looking for things that can ease their pain. Another thing the speaker at the breakout session, sorry I didn't get your name, said was that he spoke somewhere and somebody said, oh, that means we're all on drugs. And the truth of the matter is that we all are on drugs. It's just that some of us are on different drugs. For some of us it's chocolate cake. When we're not feeling happy, we go and eat the chocolate cake and we're okay. For some of us it's shopping and you call it retail therapy. And you buy things that you cannot use in the next 10 years. For your child, it is either weed, or it is social media, or it is the internet. They're escaping to different things. Does that mean we should sit down and say, okay, you know what? Since everybody is on drugs and everybody has, like the last speaker told us, that everybody has mental health. We're all just on different spectrums of that mental health journey. Some of us have very good mental health. Some of us have horrible mental health. Some of us will never even admit that we have something wrong with our mental health. But the truth of the matter is that we all do. And once in a while it manifests. And it manifests sometimes even in the way we raise our children. Unfortunately, some people tip and they go into things like suicide. A lot of our children are under a lot of pressure. Let's talk about pressure. Immense pressure. I remember, and I'm going to share personal stories. I remember asking Mrs. Shofora that, am I allowed to be myself? Because usually when I have an opportunity to talk to people who consider it important enough to take their time out to come for sessions like this, the least I can do is to give them the truth. And I can give the truth from my own perspective and my own experiences. And I have two children, two young adults. My son is 22, my daughter is 25. And the way I like to describe them is that they have given me the much needed experience that I need on this journey called parenting. They have shown me what it means to be a parent. And I'm grateful that we have an open enough relationship to be able to talk about any and everything. We may not agree, in fact a lot of times we don't agree. And we have agreed that it is okay to agree to disagree. And everybody moves on. But it doesn't stop me as a parent from airing my opinion and telling them what it is. But I realize at a certain age, I cannot force them. There are certain decisions that they will have to take by themselves. And I remember my son, who when he was about to leave secondary school, asked him, what do you want to study? And he said, law. And I said, I do not know that you like reading like that. He said, Mom, is law. I said, law is not like suits or law and order. It's different. He said, law. What is your second choice? Law. Your third choice, he said, Mom. And you know, by the time they say Mom, end of discussion. So we left him. He started studying law. Thankfully, he was doing very well. Now, my husband, who in his mind thinks he's a lawyer, even though he's an engineer, feels that he could have been a brilliant lawyer, thought this was his dream coming to reality through his son. Unknown to me, my grandfather too, my father-in-law, who had always dreamt of a son in his family, felt this was his dream coming true. My son wakes up year 2 uni and decides he had picked up a passion for DJing, which I encourage him to do. Earn money, hopefully, you won't ask him for too much money, you mind your business. He had picked up a passion for DJing, and he says he doesn't want to be a lawyer anymore. That was where the beginning of a lot of wahala came. But he couldn't push too much because he was the one who said he wanted to study law. So one day he was talking about nobody cares about him, the way he feels. My husband said, I'm the victim here. Do you know how much I have been paying for school fees at 500 to 1? I am the victim. Of course, my son couldn't understand it. By the time he went to speak with his grandfather, the father was totally upset. That pressure put a lot on him. I'm probably a more open-minded mother. Okay, he's 22. By the time he's 25, 26, he will realize that sometimes DJ may not fully pay the bills, and then he will, and all that. But talk about unrealistic expectations, unrealistic standards, expectations from society. How can you say you are a DJ? How does it even begin? And the children these days are getting bolder and wanting to follow their passion. So they're not saying they're not going to go to school. But I'm going to school, I've read economics, but I want to be a dressmaker. Or I want to be a chef. Or I want to be a YouTuber. Or I want to do what makes me happy. Because guess what? For them, they just want to be happy and rich. That's all they're looking for. Now, I wasn't bold enough, but when I think back, quite frankly, if I had a choice, I would have been a race car driver, a pilot, probably a DJ. But unfortunately, I did not have the privilege. Now, what has happened is we have grown up like that, and we're raising our children the way we were raised. We were not allowed to talk. They told you are either be lawyer, doctor, engineer. You said yes, sir, even when you were not happy about it. You went to school, you came out, they're bold enough, they will say to you, I'll get the certificate, I'll give it to you. So right now, we've managed the journey is in law school. Thank God. He has said, when I finish with the certificate, I will give it to you. No problem. I remember the compromise we had to get to was he said after he graduated, if he went straight to law school, he was going to fail. And I said, okay, don't fail, don't worry. Come, let's talk about it. He said he wants to calm his brain. No problem. Do NYC and be calming your brain. Just calm it while you're in NYC. We agreed. When things want to happen and things are working in your favor, he ended up doing NYC in a law firm. And that was because his posting came out the day before he was to go to camp. The only person that could give us a letter was a lawyer. So case one closed. What I'm saying is that parents, sometimes, we cannot give what we do not have. And some of us are so stressed raising our parents that we're projecting our fears, we're projecting our pressures, we're projecting everything on them. And it makes them all the more stressed. So they're under pressure, how to act, how to look, how to behave. I have constant battles with my daughter. When you go to the shop, don't you find any cloth that is complete? Either one pant is missing, or the dress is short. And I'm wondering, what exactly is the problem? And she's saying, well, now as she's getting older, it's beginning to make sense to her. But there were constant battles. You know, they're under pressure. To them, they feel, why are you trying to manage my life? What is the big deal in dressing? And especially because you compare them in terms of academics, they compare themselves to other people and say, "Now is good though. You should see another person's dress. You should see another person's clothes." And then they're saying, make up your mind. Do you want us to compare or don't you want us to compare? Those are the kind of pressures that our children are under. Because the theme for today was stem the tide, there was no way I could think about it without thinking about the beach. Especially because I actually do like going to the beach a lot. Even though I haven't been in a while, but I love water. And I like going to the beach, and I've had some good times there. So for me, the world looks like this beach, which is very chaotic. It's unfortunate that light isn't really allowing us to see very well. But there are all manner of people there. All manner of people there, some with different intentions. Some have come because they just want to calm their brain. Some have come because they want to interact. Some have come because they want to steal. Some have come because they want to have fun. It's the same with the digital world. There's so many people there. And our children are intermingling with different people and different ideologies. They're mixing up with people from across the globe who have different value systems from what we are used to in Nigeria. And it is putting a lot of pressure. My son comes back from uni and says he has culture shock. And I said, when did you go? Because me too, I have culture shock that you are back in my house and you are putting me under pressure. So when she was talking about culture shock, I was actually quite pleased because we had that conversation about that shock. I'm not shocking you, I'm shocked that you're still waking up everything. But it's because he has grown up in an environment where he had his total and absolute freedom. He could walk in anytime, walk out anytime, do whatever he wanted to do, and all that. So those are some of the issues. So when we talk about parenting in the digital age, what does it really look like? And let's be honest. Let's be really, really honest. It's a lot of anxiety. But you know, I'm going to give us some hard truths today, and I believe it will forgive me, but it will help us. I was talking to my children, and then my son, he's the older one, he just said, drop it like that. So he said, you know, I begin to think that you parents are more susceptible to peer pressure than we young people. But guess what? I thought about it and it's true. It's true. You want your children to go to a particular school because everybody is going there. You want your children to dress in a particular way because your church members or your religious members do not dress like that. Personally, you don't mind though. But you don't want them to think that you did not bring them up well. So your anxiety, the painful part for me was when a young girl said to me that, you know, if I got pregnant today, my parents will not so much be worried that I'm pregnant, but they'll be worried that I have embarrassed them. It will be about them. So you are living in anxiety as parents. The parents in this digital age, and there's a lot of anxiety. You're sitting down and you're thinking, how this child will form my hand? How this child will go to school and pass? Everybody's going, thank God, straight A's, A's. In fact, A double star, right? That's what they have now. You have A double star, and your child has made BBB. You can't even celebrate the child. You are anxious that people will judge you. That's what parenting looks like. It's a lot of defensive parenting. You want to protect your children from armed robbers, protect them from kidnappers, protect them from SARS, protect them from bad friends, protect them from everything. Parenting has become a chore. It's become very stressful. You're not sure whether they will go to school and do well, whether they will make bad friends, are you on drugs, this mental health treatment. Let me just come and listen, hey, I don't know whether it will happen to my child. There's a lot happening. And then it has become very competitive. We're putting a lot of pressure. And guess what? We're projecting these on the children. There was a young girl I was speaking with. I got to meet her through a doctor friend who said he wanted me to talk to her. And this girl was in her early 20s. She had been a straight A student. She was working in one of the top consulting firms in Lagos. And then all of a sudden she had a breakdown one day, and that was when her parents discovered that she had been on marijuana or something. She had been said, "What is the problem?" She said the pressure was too much. The pressure not to fail was too much. She had become a trophy child. When you are introducing your daughter, you cannot introduce her by her name, "This is Ayo." You are saying, "This is my child, she made a first class. This is my child, she's the A-star student. This is my child," and you don't know that by so doing, yes, it's coming from a good place. Just like it was coming from a good place from my mom, who took me to her school mother to psychoanalyze me and be sure that everything was okay. You know, it's coming from a good place. But guess what? It has an impact on the children that we do not realize. We're talking about stemming the tide. What are some of the things that we can do? So the way we parent is even enough to put a lot of pressure. One of the things that I say is that the goal of parenting hasn't changed, but the method must change. Now, from the children's perspective, what does growing up in a digital age look like? Or the way my daughter put it, adulting. What does adulting look like? Interestingly, yesterday she was having a conversation with her 10-year-old cousin who was doing his assignment and everything, so we were talking to him. And he said something to the effect that he can't wait to just grow. She said, be careful what you wish for. That when you start this adulting, you can't press pause. That is a trap. They didn't tell us that there are so many things. Her first shock was that when she graduated from uni, she would no longer be collecting pocket money. It was a major shock to her. It was a shock to me that she thought she would still be collecting pocket money. It was a major shock to her. So she thinks that adulting is too hard. There are so many things they don't tell you. There are bills you have to pay. You have to do this. You have to behave in a particular way. You have to wake up and go to work. You have to. Then why can't you just remain? Meanwhile, if you had told them at that age, you're just stay where you are, they would have argued. They worry. Part of the problem, we'll get to that. So adulting is hard. There are a lot of things they're thinking about. They're thinking about their grades, their friends, how do they fit in. Everybody wants to belong, including you and I sitting here. The difference is what you want to belong to. And our children naturally, Maslow's hierarchy of need, let's go back and remember. Belonging is one of the basic needs of human beings. They want to belong. Everybody wants to fit in. They want to fit into something. Sometimes that means a lot of things, especially if as parents we haven't properly defined what it is that the kind of things that they should be fitting into. So they have a lot of things going on. Grades, assignments. Assignments can even be parenting, tasks, the parents. Self-esteem issue. There's a lot of body shaming that is going on. They're very savage on social media. So everything that you do, everything that you say, somebody is calling you out on social media. That's what happens when you live in the digital age. You can't hide anymore. Our lecturers can no longer hide. The students can no longer hide. Nobody can hide anymore. A lot of people are forming and faking it on social media. And unfortunately, our children because they live there, sometimes it's easy to distort reality with what is fake. So they're comparing their real life with a fake life. None of us will post a selfie that is bad. We take 20 and choose the best and post it. We record 200 times and say, does this one sound okay? How does this sound okay? Sometimes I wonder, I'm not a doctor, I know some signs of mental health issues. Where you're taking 200 pictures and posting one. So they go through all manner of they're living in a place where they're afraid of missing out. That's what FOMO is. FOMO is fear of missing out. So they're constantly on their phone because it's as if, and we are all guilty too, we're addicted. It's just that we kind of feel that as parents we're allowed to, and when I say parents, please let me say that I'm talking to parents and people I describe as parent figures. Teachers, educators, those who have responsibility to raise the younger generation. We appear as if those things only happen. Check yourself. When you get on the plane and they're giving you a drill, they'll say that in the event of unlikely loss of oxygen, that the mask will drop. What do they say you should do? Put for yourself first before you help another person. We need to look at ourselves and find out what exactly is going on. What are the things that we're projecting? So the life that they're living is a life of where they're looking at photos, they're looking at friends, they're living with over-controlling parents. And they're wondering whether they're enough. Am I popular enough? Am I thin enough? Am I rich enough? Am I smart enough? Am I enough? And everything is consistently telling them that they are not enough. And then they come to the house and the parents are telling them you are not enough. Your grades are not good enough. You are not well behaved enough. You are not acting right enough. So where exactly do we want them to go? There's a lot of sadness, a lot of anxiety, which could lead to depression, which could lead to suicide, and a lot of things happening. And we're only giving what it is that we have. It's unfortunate that I was looking at the newspapers and I found out that in the last 6 months, 42 people, the top 42 people of those who have committed suicide are students. In the last 6 months. Some over exam issues, some over boyfriend matter, some over different issues. But they've been committing, and these are the real people, because I got their images from them. These are people who, like you and I, their parents had great dreams for them. But guess what? It all ended. So, what is it that we can do as parents or caregivers raising children in this age? And how do we stem the time? Olashore International School was the one who gave me the theme stem the time. So I decided to play around with it a lot. Like I said, I love the beach. And I look at life like the ocean. And there are waves and there are seasons. Different things happen at different times. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. Sometimes things don't go the way we want. And unwanted and unexpected things happen. Like our children getting depressed. Like our children making poor choices. Like our children doing things that will not make us happy. But there's a sport that is gradually becoming popular in Lagos. And it's called surfing. How many of us are familiar with surfing? Okay, how many of us surf? How many of us surf? How many of us wish we could surf? Yeah. Now let's bring it closer home. You see, in the time, in the waves of life, right? It's the same. Why, if you look, you'll find out that we have more foreigners who surf than Africans. It has just become something that they are trying to pick up. And it's the same way with parents. When my daughter got into uni, you know, a very Nigerian mother, I followed her, you stay on this line, and I could hear the expatriate students saying, I wonder what's wrong with all these people. These Africans, their mothers keep following them to the uni. We're doing everything ourselves. I could hear, but I pretended as if I wasn't hearing. What's your problem? Me, I'm following my daughter. You went up there. Have you done the vaccination? Have you done this one? Have you done that? That's the way we are. We're afraid to actually get into the water. We're afraid to leave them at a particular age. And that leads to some of the problems that we're seeing. So surfing is where you ride the waves. When the waves come, you get on the board and you go. And I'm also somebody who loves acronyms a lot. So I thought, okay, what acronym can I give them here that they will remember? So I decided to play around with the acronym SURF. And that's what we're going to be talking about. How can we help our children? How can we parent more effectively? How can we stem the tide? We can do that by learning to surf. What does surf mean? Speak, understand, resist, and focus. Speak, understand, resist, and focus. Let's start with the first one. Speak the truth about life. Many of us tell lies as parents. Plenty lies. We don't tell them the truth about life. And we think we're trying to protect them. We don't talk about our mistakes. We do not tell them that adulting is hard. We don't tell them. We don't tell them that people will disappoint you. People will betray you. We don't tell them that people will shame you. We don't tell them that you will fail. We don't tell them that you will make mistakes. We don't tell them that there are consequences for the things you do. We don't tell them that sometimes you will experience loss. It will be loss of life, loss of a loved one. We don't talk about the important things. So when they encounter those things, they're confused. They don't know what to do. We give the impression that we were born perfect. And we have lived very perfect lives. We never failed. I tell my children, when I was 14, I got onto university campus at the age of 14. And I saw freedom and I collected it with everything I had. And I feel so bad. By the time I woke up, I was ready to give my academic full attention. Unfortunately, my father died. So I was totally discouraged. I failed the second time. But you know, because I had age on my side, it helped. It helped in the sense that I was able to catch up. And thereafter, and at that time, my mother was 36. So this is somebody who didn't know how to deal with normal growing up developmental issues, and she's now serving with 3 girls at the age of 36. She could only parent us the best she knew how to. And it was a lot of controlling. I tell the story of one day when I was going out, and I was wearing not spaghetti, nice sleeveless dress, long skirt. My mother said I would not tolerate prostitution in my house. And I was wondering, how did we reach there? A dress that I'm wearing. So we had different issues. But we don't tell them that, look, people will disappoint you. You will have friends that will betray you. We give the impression that the world is rosy. And for those of us that are very religious, we use God forbid to say it's not your portion. So I say Nigerians, our default coping mechanism is denial. We feel it will not happen to us, therefore there is no need to talk about it. And if we talk about it, it's as if we're calling it. So but the reality is that it happens. We need to speak the truth to our children. We need to also allow them to be able to speak the truth. Because what happens is that sometimes when we don't do that, our children fail to adulthood. You know how when you are loading a program on the computer and it says content fails to load? Some of our children have failed to launch. And what happens is, to cope, they now begin to depend on different things. They now get to a place where they're depressed. They now get to a place where they're gravely unhappy, where they have different issues going on. And because you have never told them that you have gone through depression, and you have gone through great feelings of anxiety and unhappiness, they think that there's something wrong with them. You've never told them that you liked a boy that did not like you, or you liked a girl that did not, so they begin to think, I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. I'm the only one. If you want to parent effectively in this digital age, you must be able to talk about any and everything. You must be able to talk about feelings. You must be able to talk about any and everything. But let me quickly move on. One of the things that we need to do is to create a safe space for our children. So I'm still on this, I need to run. What is a safe space? A safe space is where they can come to and they can talk about you. You is understanding. And I like Stephen Covey's 5th habit, which says, seek first to understand, then to be understood. How many of us understand the purpose of parenting? Why are we parenting? Some of us think it's to show off. Some of us think it's to say, okay, we fulfill the junction of multiply. Some of us, we don't even know why we're parenting. Who are we parenting? Do you know who your child is? Are you trying to raise Olamide as if he is Ayomide? Do you understand the nature of who you're parenting? What environment are you parenting your child in? Because the way you parent a child, and some of us, because the digital world has exposed them to different cultures, and we want them to behave like expatriates on one side, and want them to behave like Nigerians on another side. This is as a joke, and I hopefully I'll round up very quickly. I remember my children when they came back from uni, and I said, come, people are falling my hand. That, can't you hear every other person speaking for them? After all the money we paid, you are still speaking like Nigerians. Can't you at least put on a little bit of the accent people? They don't have time for that, but that's a joke. Okay, so we need to understand, how do we parent our children? But guess what? What I just said as a joke, some parents take it very seriously.
Yes.
So now laugh about it, but some parents actually take it very seriously. And then when do we parent? So S is for speak the truth. U is understand. Understand who your parents, who you're parenting, but also understand the pressures they go through. One of the things that we do in our organization is that we conduct this anonymous survey where we go to talk to students, and it's called What We Wish Our Parents Knew. So tell us some things that you wish you could talk to your parents about, and why haven't you done so? And it's interesting that 43.9% of the responses we get have to do with mental health and stress-related issues. 27 have to do with sex-related issues, 16 academics, and all that. If you're interested, we have a program on YouTube called What We Wish Our Parents Knew, where we try to deal with the different issues that they talk about. But just to give an example, what we wish our parents knew, one of the respondents, I'm struggling with depression. Why haven't you told your parents? Nigeria doesn't recognize depression and suicidal tendencies as a disease, and they take it as attention seeking. So that's why it's good that we're having programs like this to enlighten people. Another one says not all their friends' children are the same they seem like. So you're constantly comparing them. Can you not see this person? Very good. And they refuse to agree. That's why they haven't bothered telling them. Another one says, I like my mom to know how much I like her. And I like to be like her. But she's fond of just shushing me and saying, just move away. What's wrong with you? Those are some of the things that give rise to the feelings that they have. I wish my dad and mom knew how to communicate with me. Also wish I could tell them about my problem in school, especially financially. I want them to know I'm broke. And what you are saying to your child, look, nobody wants to be at the bottom rung of the ladder. I'm not saying you should go and steal to take care of your children, but you need to have conversations with them to keep their self-esteem high, even when they cannot afford it. Another thing, I think this is good because this is a family of most of the people here probably have children in Olashiri. It's the same environment and all that. Because of this peer pressure thing in adults, don't take your child into an environment where you know your child is not right. When you know that your child will be looked out on, because low self-esteem is really horrible and it can lead to all kinds of things. What is R for? R is resist. And what are you to resist as a parent? Resist over parenting. Because it leads to poor coping and problem-solving skills. We overparent. The other day I went out with a friend a couple of years ago. My friend who had an 18-year-old son, we went to Muson to watch a play. And we came out and she said, let me hold your hand to cross the road. And I looked at her, you're right. How do you hold the hand of an 18-year-old? And this is somebody who schools abroad. That is how it is. We do not allow our children to experience life. So we're overprotecting and it is causing a lot of damage. And that makes them predisposed to anxiety and depression. Low self-esteem, they have an unrealistic view of life, they don't really understand what is going on. So we need to resist the urge to overparent. We also need to stop shaming. You know, it's interesting how our conversation style in Nigeria is just to be dissing people. You just shame. We say things very sarcastically. You want to say somebody is looking nice, there's a way you say, I'm catching you, why can't you just do it? You know, and sometimes because we do not finish the sentences, you're not even sure. If somebody is feeling bad about themselves, what then happens is they fill in the blank with what they think, based on the concept that they have in their mind. And I think, is there something wrong with me? Maybe I'm looking, it's not alright. Maybe there's something wrong and all that. Let's learn. Shaming has always been a very poor educator. A lot of us are damaged adults. But we don't want to agree. We feel that age has removed the damage. But when you press hard, you find out that damage comes out. And hurting people only hurt people. Shame will lead to them thinking about addiction and thinking about suicide. And the last one is F, focus. You need to focus on what really matters. So S is speak the truth. Tell them the truth about life. You understand the people you're parenting. Are resisting the urge to overparent and to shame when they do not meet up to your expectations. And F, focus on what really matters. What is it that really matters? One, to focus on the goal of parenting. What is the goal of parenting? To raise fully functional adults who are useful not just to themselves but to the society that they find themselves in. That is the goal of parenting. And we need to consistently remind ourselves, this thing that I am doing, would it be in the best interest of this child and society? If not, you need to change your method. The goal of parenting has not changed. My mother's goal was to make sure that I was useful to the society and to myself. My goal is to make sure that my child is useful to the society and to him or herself. But the method we will choose, just like many of us do not use grinding stone to grind pepper, we will go and buy blender. Some of us are trying to use grinding stone to raise our children, and it really doesn't work. Am I saying throw away the old? No. But you need to properly understand the environment that you're parenting and raise them well. So remember what the goal is, and then focus on the fact that numbers do not define your child. A lot of us have lived our lives being defined by numbers. I lived my life being defined by numbers. The weight on the scale, the balance in my account, the grades that I came home with, the number of people that like me, the number of people that follow me. Our children are looking, how many people are following you? How many followers do you have? How many people like your post? How many people are doing this? Who are those? What are my grades? Numbers do not define you. Recently, America's Got Talent. The winner, Cody. Kodili is a child who, was 22, autistic child, and he won $1 million. But guess what? His mother or his parents understood who he was, and their focus was on making him the best version of himself. I have to run, I think I've extended my time. What is the other thing you should focus on? Reinforce values and equip them with survival skills. These days, to survive, you need resilience. Our first speaker spoke about it. We need our children to be able to get up and bounce back. Things will go wrong. You get up, you pick yourself, and you bounce back. But guess what? It's not enough to say get up, pick up yourself, and bounce back. There's a process to it. You work the journey with them. Time will not allow me to talk about it. We also need to teach them about courage. They need to be very courageous. You need to be courageous to stand up to a lecturer who says, if you don't sleep with me, I will not depart your river. And you look at him and you say, I'm not going to sleep with you, and there's nothing you're going to do about it because I'm going to report you. And you need to create a safe space where your daughter or your son can come in and say, this is what happened. You don't say, you why because your dress is always short. You find a way to create that safe space for them and equip them with the skills that they need. One of those skills is kindness. Because guess what? People have to be kind to themselves before they can be kind to others. And many people are very unkind. And many parents are very, very unkind. They think they are. They think it's in the best interest of the child, but they're doing a lot of things. Let me end by saying that depression and suicide are sometimes some of the unwanted stuff that the tide brings in as we serve them. And my hope is that as we speak, we understand, we resist, and we focus, we'll be able to step the tide. Thank you.